next Wednesday. Like, you know how to send out the hearing schedule? So like next Wednesday is when I'm gonna start.
What do you know about that?
Retracting.
Good afternoon, everyone. Oh, good. Yeah, good afternoon. 12:01. I'm late. Apologies for being late.
I think we have everybody, Mr. Chair.
Oh, great. Thank you. I was taking notes on the other screen and looked up and saw it was 12:01. My apologies. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the first meeting for this year's or this season's and this versions of the General Assembly Compensation Commission. My name is David Nitkin. I have been appointed to be chair of this group, and it is an honor to be here on this call and this session with you. I will introduce myself. My introduction to Annapolis and work in Maryland policy came as a reporter for the Baltimore Sun more than a quarter century ago. I was in the State House. I was State House Bureau Chief. I enjoyed my time there tremendously. It feels like just yesterday, but it was almost a quarter century ago at this point. I have a background in public policy, and I went on to try to use those skills in Howard County, Maryland, and then in the Office of the Attorney General before I entered the Johns Hopkins system and became a chief of staff at one of their hospitals. And right now I'm predominantly in strategic communications with my own firm, working for public sector and nonprofit clients mainly. So that is me in a nutshell. This commission, I was honored to be asked to be part of it. As you all probably know, it has a long history of doing responsible work, reaching wise decisions, processing the data, and reaching good conclusions on behalf of both lawmakers and the people of Maryland. And so I have no reason to believe that will change this year. I'm sure you all don't want that to change on your watch, and I know I don't want it to change on my watch either. So I do look forward to this work. We anticipate, as you probably have seen from the emails you've received, a total of 3 sessions. Today is the first. We have another one coming right up next week, because this is going to be so fun today that you're going to say, hey, when can we do it again? And that's going to be next week, which is terrific. And then we will have hopefully an in-person session in January where we make our final decisions, sign our documents, and and people will quietly know that we have done great work. So let me just do a couple of housekeeping things before I turn it over to staff. We're meeting in the noon hour. I see my friend Matt Gallagher's mandibles working, and mine are going to be working as well. So please feel free to eat and drink and get your caffeine and food. There'll be no problem with that whatsoever. Please do that. Please do that. And let me also just another reminder, we are a public body. This meeting has been noticed. The live stream is available to any member of the public who wants to join. We're subject to the Open Meetings Act, I believe. Philip is not this, so yes, we are. And also on these calls for state government purposes or state agency purposes, the chat function is disabled, I have been told. So if you want to speak, use your hand raising icon. If you can't find it, just shout out, because I don't care that much. I'm a little newsroom guy, and sound in the background doesn't matter. So if you can't find the chat, the hand raising function, just raise your hand in real life or shout out, and we'll do that. And I just want to introduce our staff who we have, and then I'll let them take it from there. Lead staff is Philip Anthony. I believe he's done this for 2 cycles, maybe lead staff last. Well, you can correct me. Philip's done it. You've seen his emails. Please pay attention to all his emails with the dates, with the attachments. He's our guy. So when you see a Philip Anthony email, it's very important, and take care of it. And we are in good hands with his leadership. We also have Joseph Gutberlet as staffer. He's been doing a great job. Jacob Cash, Brett Ogden, and I see MGA others live streaming. Ryan Bishop is on here. Man, this is a cast of all-stars. So with that, I will say I'm done talking. We'll leave it over to the staff to outline what we want to accomplish today, field your questions, talk about how we're going to review all our information, and then move on to next week. Anybody? Oh no, I'm sorry. We were going to go around and do introductions. Right. That was one more thing. All right. So I'll do tile style. I have Anne first, followed by Simon, and then Dr. Pierre.
Hi, I'm Ann Gothrop. I'm the Director of Legislative Affairs for the State Retirement Agency. And before this, I spent several years at DLS working with Philip and Simon on this commission.
Thanks, Ann. Mr. Powell, please.
Hey, I'm Simon Powell. I was a legislative staffer for over 30 years. And yeah, I actually staffed this commission, I think 3 or 4 cycles. So this is kind of like a homecoming. So thank you for whoever thought of that.
This is going to be kind of wild, actually, I think. Dr. Pierre, please. And then followed by, I'm sorry, Miss Cyrus, and then Matt Gallagher. Sorry, Zena.
No worries. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm certainly the newest person in the group and excited to be here. Zena Pierre, I'm president and CEO of RAYARP Strategies Group, based in Prince George's County, and excited to be here today.
Thank you so much. Ms. Cyrus, Matt Gallagher, and then Lindsay Reynolds.
Good afternoon, Malora Good Cyrus, first time serving, very excited to be here. I'm a systems engineer, STEM geek, past NASA enthusiast, and I am in love with policy and all things Annapolis. So just glad to serve.
Thank you very much. I possibly should have said at the outset, just because I'm curious about it. Maybe we say what entity you have been appointed on behalf of, whether it's governor's office, House, or Senate. It probably doesn't matter, but it's a data point we could have and use.
Should I say?
Sure. Yeah.
I was appointed on behalf of the Senate President, and I didn't say anything about what RAYARP does, but we're an advocacy and government relations firm, been in business for 25 years.
Thank you. Simon, who appointed you? Who had the wisdom and foresight to do that?
I got appointed by the Speaker's office. I'm very happy to serve.
Thank you. And Ms. Cyrus, do you know who appointed
The
you?
governor's office.
Very good. Thank you. All right. Matt Gallagher, Lindsay, and then I have Tom Slater after that, please.
Matt Gallagher, President and CEO of the Goldsecker Foundation in Baltimore. We're a private foundation that grants for community development, education, and nonprofit capacity building. This is my second tour of duty on the General Assembly Compensation Committee, and I am an appointee of the Senate Presidents.
Thanks, Matt. Hey, Lindsay, how are you? Oh, I can't hear you. We'll give it one more shot. Tom, you want to go, and then James King as Lindsay plays around. Oh, she
Certainly,
might be
thank you.
reconnecting.
This is my first time on this commission. I'm a retired attorney and educator, political junkie. Been to 14 Democratic conventions, and I've been appointed by the governor.
Thanks, Tom. Nice to meet you. James King, followed by Ms. Wilder, please.
Hi, my name is James King. I'm the CEO of Titan Hospitality Group, which is a local restaurant company that owns and operates 15 restaurants in the Mid-Atlantic region, and former member of the Maryland legislature. I served 2006 to 2010 representing the Annapolis area. So excited to be here, and I was appointed by the governor's office.
Hey, nice to meet you. Thanks. I believe I've dined at some of your establishments and enjoyed it. So
Fantastic. Thanks for the business.
Deborah?
Good afternoon. I'm Deborah Wilder. I'm here in Prince George's County, Maryland. I'm retired from the District of Columbia government, but I also did a stint with the Maryland state government. So I am a social activist, love all things policy as well. And I was appointed by the governor's office, and so pleased to be here. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Was Lindsay able to get that or not? I don't see her. Let me look in the side. All right. Well, I'm sure she'll figure it out. We'll do a quick introduction when we see her back. Philip, anybody else I should introduce? I see Ryan and Jacob with their cameras off. But I'm happy to turn it over to you now. Oh, there they go. I was not calling you all out. I just didn't want to leave you out in case you wanted to say something.
Yeah. No worries. I'm Ryan Bishop, the director of the Office of Policy Analysis for DLS. The fine staff that you have on this call are part of our office. So welcome to your first meeting. And it's great to see Simon as well, our former DLSer.
Thanks, Ryan. Good to see you also. Thanks for making the time to do this. I guess we're really important if you're on, huh? All right. Mr. Cash, please. No. I cannot hear him right now. Jacob was going to tell us how awesome he is and how happy he is to be here and willing to dig in on this work. So I'll just paraphrase what I knew he was going to say. And Lindsay, let's give it another shot.
Can you hear me now, David?
Yes.
Perfect.
Good job.
I apologize. I'm in a hotel in LA at a conference, so my apologies. Lindsay Reynolds, I'm the managing partner at GQR, which is a polling and research company in DC. I'm excited to be here. I served 4 years ago on the Commission for Compensation for the statewide offices. So happy to do this again and lend my expertise. I was appointed by the speaker and happy to work with you all.
Great. Thank you so much. All right. I think that's time for me to stop talking and turn it over to DLS staff to go through the substance of what we need to accomplish today. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair. You should have received the exhibit packet in advance. We'll be going through that today. We won't be going through in fine detail unless there's something that somebody has particular questions on. I know it's a lot of information, it's a lot of background, so we're going to try and get through this in an expeditious manner so we can kind of get to the meat of any substantive discussion you want to have. So we'll go through the background exhibits. The exhibits kind of cover, the nature of the commission, historical data on prior resolutions, comparisons to what's done in other states, comparisons amongst various state employee matters of compensation, legislative expenses and office accounts. We'll kind of glance over that. That's not necessarily focus of this group, and then go through the
can I interrupt you for a second?
Sure.
Did we get this by mail or email? Because
I should have gone out by email, but I can
okay.
recirculate that again. Make sure.
Somebody could send me the package again. I'd appreciate it.
Sure, I can do that after the meeting.
Thank you.
And then finally, at the end, we'll go through the legislative pension plan. And we do have Ms. Gothrop here, who's the Director of Legislative Affairs for the State Retirement and Pension System. We have a couple items related to that to bring to your attention, and she'll be here to assist with any questions. So going through, is everyone seeing my screen okay? I know it's going to be a little...
Yeah. And Tom had his... Philip, Tom had his hand up. I don't know.
Yeah, that was Tom had the question about the getting a copy of the packet. So I'll make sure that that happens.
All right. Yeah. Sorry, a call came in and shut off my audio.
It's okay. Yeah. So the first, few exhibits. First, we have here. This is the constitutional provision providing for the nature of this commission. The body is charged with recommending the compensation and benefits for the members of the General Assembly. The resolution will need to be, finalized in time to be introduced within 15 days of the next regular legislative session, which begins on Wednesday, January 14th. And the recommendations of the commission can be altered by the General Assembly. However, the General Assembly can only reduce or reject from the commission. So the General Assembly does not have the ability to increase above what this commission recommends. Moving on to Exhibit 2, it's kind of a snapshot overview of the different methods that are employed in different states. I will note, as we're going through all this, we will have a number of exhibits kind of comparing what Maryland does to what is done in other states, and I would just recommend that when you're looking at that, try and think of those as more of a high level view. There are a number of reasons why other states may do what they do. There may be other legal or even constitutional requirements for why they do what they do, and so it's more just meant to be when looking at other states, kind of a comparison for a high bar. Is there some kind of outlier going on here, which generally Maryland, from going through all this, we are not really an outlier on anything compared to other states. But most states use this compensation commission format. Some states tie compensation to external factors like increases for state employees or median household income, items like that. And then the remainder of the states have authority to set the legislative compensation through legislation. Exhibit 3 here, this is just kind of an overview of the commission responsibilities. It's kind of mentioned when going through Exhibit 1. As I said, the commission recommendations will go to the General Assembly, and the General Assembly has that limited authority to either reject or reduce from what the commission sends to it. So you all will be setting kind of the high bar for what the compensation and benefit package would look like. We'll skip through Exhibit 4. Exhibit 4 is some historical information on the 70s and 80s commissions. And Exhibit 5 is some more historical data. This column here on the right is going to be what's in the current resolution for this current term. You can see here, these are the current salaries. There are salaries specified for the members, and then the positions of president and speaker have separate salary levels for those as officers of the body. For most of the remainder outside the salary, a lot of the things like meals and lodging, mileage, things like that are tied to external factors like existing government rates or IRS mileage reimbursements. There is a annual $750 in-district travel allowance for members. And then the resolution also establishes the retirement plan for the legislators. The legislative pension plan is unique in that respect amongst the other plans in the state retirement and pension system, as the provisions and governance of the legislative retirement plan is incorporated in the resolution. You will not find it in statute like you will for the other plans. Moving on to Exhibit 6. Next couple exhibits will just kind of give some background on, what kind of legislature is Maryland. This information is from the National Conference of State Legislatures. They have kind of 5 designations. There are some full-time legislatures. There are what they classify as full-time light, which are a little lighter on the work. Most states, or a majority of states, kind of fall into this hybrid category, which is where you'll find Maryland, which is they designate as classified as spending at least 2/3 of work life on legislative work and having intermediate levels of staff. And then you have the more part-time legislators that tend to be about half-time, and then also have relatively lower levels of staffing support in their functions. Exhibit 7 here is just some background information related to the attributes of a professional versus a more citizen-like legislature. I will say we'll get into some additional detail in a bit about kind of the workload that we're seeing in Maryland to kind of put this into some context. But generally, it's falls into the time demands of the members and the workloads and responsibilities that they're taking on, as opposed to splitting that time between public service and private employment. Exhibit 8 we have here, this is kind of showing the legislative turnover. During the past election cycle, had about a 20% turnover. The prior legislative cycle was election cycle was about a third. You will see fairly often what happens is you'll have some of the changes attributable to the House are House members who are leaving the House either to seek election in the Senate or to seek election in the Senate for a Senate position when a member leaves or retires. So you're trending, fairly consistently. Tends to be about a 2-3 cycles of a lot of members leaving, and then they get filled in with other members who tend to stay on. Exhibits 9 and 10 we have here. This is the kind of breakdown. This is the breakdown of the current service for the Senate members. There are 47 of them. Most you'll find in this 8 to 12, 12 to 16 kind of range. And then for the House, you'll see it tends to skew a little on the newer member breakdown. There are 141 House members, and so this shows the breakdown here. Get a little ahead of ourselves. The reason why we have this 22.25 is when they max out on their retirement benefit. So that is what that designation is representing. So Exhibit 11, this next exhibit is something I think we pulled together last time around. This is showing the bills and joint resolutions. So this is the heart of the workload that the members are performing for the state. And so this is showing the historical numbers as far as the pieces of legislation that are introduced in both the House and Senate and then ultimately passed. There are a few things I would note here. So beginning in 2019, the Senate started implementing bill request and introduction limits. And so when you're looking at the Senate, you'll see a little bit of a dip here. And then in subsequent years, it's trended down a little bit. However, they've been fairly stable even with those introduction limits. The other thing I would note is that the Senate introduction limits were in 2021. In 2019, there was a change regarding the state's capital budget. Members who had local capital, so those are things like construction, other types of public works, that had capital requests would introduce those requests as pieces of legislation. So for those of you who have experience prior to that time working with the legislature, you may have heard of bond bills. So those local bond initiatives were actual pieces of legislation. And typically we would see about 400 of those every session. In 2019, there was a change where they are no longer pieces of legislation. They are what you'll hear now referred to as legislative bond initiatives. And those are still submitted by all the members, but they're not submitted as individual pieces of legislation. And so what you'll see in 2019, you'll see this dip here, but then the numbers do in total, they are, coming back up consistent and even higher in some cases than what you'll see historically. So the thing I would note there is that while the numbers may seem consistent for the past, 7-8 sessions, the workload actually has been supplemented by about at least, in that range of 400 bills per session. Exhibit 12, we can work on updating this for the next meeting. When we pulled this information, it was as of mid-September. This is just showing the interim legislative meetings that the members are participants in. This will be your task forces, commissions, standing committees, joint committees of the legislature. We'll get this updated. Most of those meetings tend to happen later in the interim, so we will likely be wrapping up most of those this week and next week. So we'll get that updated for you to get a more accurate count of what the current interims look like. Moving on, so we have here some background information regarding legislative salaries in all the states. Some states, you'll see here this you may see that where's this particular state. Some states do either per diems, or in the case of, I think it's New Mexico, they actually are constitutionally zero for their legislative compensation. But a number of states since 2021 have had increases, including Maryland. The last commission did provide for salary increases. And you'll see here a little background information on the typical length of a legislative session, which can vary state to state. Maryland is a 90-day calendar session beginning the second Wednesday of every January. Exhibit 14, this is showing here in this far left column the rankings of relative standing for legislative salaries among the states for the 2024 salaries, which is kind of the most complete data set we had available. Maryland is sitting in 13th. The 25 and 26 salaries will be above that, provided in the prior or current resolution. And then kind of here, we're just kind of a more visual breakdown of kind of giving you the scale, including where Maryland falls. So you'll have, you see New York and California. Those are both two full-time legislatures with, very large populations, very large state economies, and very large state budgets. And then you'll see Maryland falling down here in that 13 ranking. Exhibit 16 is showing, this is salary increases between 2021 and 2024. A few states had some fairly substantial increases. Maryland's over that period was about 8.2%. The first 2 years of the term that provided for 4% increases, and then the second 2 years of the current term provide for 2% increases. Exhibit 17, again, this is a snapshot kind of where Maryland falls related to the budget that the members are responsible for managing. The Maryland operating budget from the 2023 fiscal year was a little bit under $66 billion. This exhibit here is showing other states within a $15 billion range. And again, you see Maryland salary here is probably somewhat on the higher end, but then you do have some outliers like Virginia with a much lower legislative salary. Michigan would also be a full-time legislature, I believe. Exhibit 18, we'll be moving on into some information that's a little more Maryland specific. So we're showing here the employee and General Assembly member salary changes from fiscal 23 through fiscal 2026. They vary year to year. You'll note that for the legislature, they tend to run in periods where the compensation is stagnant. And for state employees, you'll also see periods like during the Great Recession where you had no salary increases. Sometimes there were furloughs being experienced. And then here you just kind of see the history for the general salary increases for state employees up through the fiscal 2026 year. Moving on to Exhibit 19. This is a little more detail. There are collective bargaining aspects that factor into the compensation adjustments that certain units of state government receive. So we just have a little bit more detail here on that for your information. It should generally track with what you saw in the prior exhibit, which is...
Philip, if I can just
Yes.
make a quick question. On this exhibit and the prior exhibit, when it
Yes.
mentioned increments,
Mhm.
could you maybe just say a word about what that is and what that typically represents as a percentage of compensation?
Yeah, I'm gonna
Or
tap
if I'm jumping ahead.
No,
let's make
that's fine.
it
I'm gonna tap into Jacob to cover that. These are state employee compensation, but generally I believe the increments are the performance increments, and Jacob could comment more on the typical percentage that we would see with those.
Yeah, so an increment is a merit increase. These are so any employee that meets or exceeds the standards of their position is eligible for an increment that year if it is budgeted. So this column is showing each year that it was budgeted. That's typically about a 2 to 2.4% increase. You're not limited to one merit increase depending on how much is budgeted. But again, it's limited to the amount of money.
Thank you.
And then as Jacob mentioned, that would be contingent on meeting the performance thresholds, whereas the cost of living increase is just a flat across the board.
But my recollection is that the vast majority of state employees get the increment when it is funded.
I believe that's accurate.
Yeah, that's accurate. Most people are meeting standards, and there's programs in place for people that don't meet standards so that they can improve their performance. Another word that you might hear used for an increment is a step increase. That's the same thing.
Thank you.
Moving on, we have Exhibit 20 here. This is showing the participation by the legislators in the state health plan. I would note that, being what's categorized as, hybrid or a part-time legislature, legislators may be receiving health insurance either through private employers or through other spouses. On Exhibit 21, we have kind of a snapshot here in terms of, trying to get a little bit of comparison between a legislator and a state employee in terms of retirement benefits between an 8 and 12-year snapshot. I would note, in terms of comparing state employees, generally speaking, the average benefit for the legislative plan and the average benefit that is seen in the employees' pension system are fairly similar. I believe the legislative average is going to be about 1,642 per month, whereas in the employees' pension system, it's 1,609 a month. That's not reflected in here, but this is just kind of showing here how the breakdown of participation in the health benefits can affect the bottom line for the participants. We'll come back to the next few. We have some just kind of snapshots on the salaries related to median, per capita, and adjusted for cost of living. We have an exhibit later on that will show the median and per capita income broken down by jurisdiction. The next batch of exhibits, exhibits 25 through 32, deal with expenses. So these are things, lodging, meals, member mileage for travel, in-state and out-of-state travel, and conferences, as well as legislative office budgets. These things are typically tied to external factors, particularly so the lodging, meals, and mileage are all tied to external factors used elsewhere in the state. And I will say out-of-state travel, when you're looking at the historical, obviously during COVID, there was a significant dip, and then it can fluctuate based on what is going on in the world and what members are looking to address as their function as legislatures. So out-of-state travel can involve going to conferences or site visits to gather information. We'll skip ahead to next batch of exhibits 33 through 36. These are some data points related to salaries and compensation for other state officials. So you have the constitutional officers, you have deputy officers, members of the judiciary. Judiciary and the constitutional officers are also subject to the compensation commission process. They have separate commissions that evaluate those salaries. And then here you have cabinet secretaries. These are compensation structures set in the state budget.
Philip, I think in looking this over, the constitutional officers and those governed by the respective commissions, those salaries are set, but aren't the cabinet salaries, aren't they the upper ranges? Like that's not necessarily what cabinet secretaries are making.
Yeah, Jacob, can you confirm are these the actual or are these the upper?
This is the maximum band, and so this is tracking how that maximum has increased or moved over time.
Okay. Thank you.
Exhibit 34, we have some information on local legislative salaries. So these would be the local county governments for the commissioners or their elected officials. Same in Exhibit 35, city and county councils, showing the kind of change over the last few terms. And then Exhibit 36, we have some information on mayor or county executive salaries. And then Exhibit 37, this is the one I was referring to earlier. This is some information showing state median and per capita personal income. We have down here at the bottom, we have the statewide averages, and then you also have information for each jurisdiction. On the low end, you'll have St. Mary's in both categories. And on the upper end for median household, you'll have Howard, and per capita, Montgomery is ranked first. And you can see there's a fairly wide range between those highest earning and lowest earning jurisdictions. I will note, for purposes of your decision making, the legislative compensation is required in the Constitution to be uniform, with the exception of the 2 presiding officer positions. The next batch of exhibits we have to kind of wrap up is related to the state retirement and pension systems. In 2011, there was a significant reform undertaken for the various state systems. The legislative plan in the 2014 iteration of this commission made some changes based on those 2011 reforms. I will say, as I mentioned earlier, the legislative pension plan is governed by the decisions of this body. And so unlike the other state plans, the only opportunity we have to amend or make technical corrections or conforming with, say IRS provisions is through this commission, as opposed to being able to, for the other systems, introduce legislation to address issues as they arise. And so with that, historically, this commission will make alterations for the legislative plan, kind of following on from other trends that have happened in the broader state retirement and pension system with the other plans. The legislative contribution is consistent with the employees plan at 7% of salary. There are some lower age thresholds for retirement for the legislature. The one way the legislative plan is also unique compared to the general employee plans is that the retirement benefit is based as a percentage of the compensation for the active membership, whereas in the employee and other law enforcement and corrections plans, the benefit is a calculation based on the typically the last 3 to 5 years of that employee's compensation multiplied by their years of service and their benefit multiplier. So for the employee systems, there are also cost of living adjustments that apply each year, whereas for the legislative plan, retirees only receive increases as the base compensation for the active membership increases. One area where the legislative plan is also somewhat of an outlier is related to a line of duty death benefit. The legislative plan does not currently have a line of duty death benefit, so that would be an instance when a member is died or killed in the course of performing their duties. A few years ago, the judicial system also did not have a line of duty death benefit, and unfortunately, there was an incident when a judge was killed. And so the legislature went in and added the line of duty death benefit for the judicial system, including retroactive provisions to address the inciting incident. And so that is one item that I do have flagged, and we'll get in a little bit related to the legislative plan, whether or not you all feel it is pertinent to include a similar benefit for the legislative plan. And that would be consistent with the remaining systems in the state systems. Exhibit 39 here, we have a little more breakdown on the accrued service of the active legislators. You'll see here average ages, eligibility for retirement benefits. The legislative benefit taps out at about 2/3 of pay. And then you'll see the number of members here that have vested, and then the eligibility and what they're eligible for in terms of retirement benefits. We have a little information here. This is a typo. This should be 2022. We'll update that for you all. Just information on the retired legislators. As you'll see, it's a fairly small plan. The total system membership is over 400,000 accounts. And so the legislative plan, you have the 188 active members, and then you have here a little bit more than 300 retirees. This next exhibit here is just a comparison. These rankings are based on a 20-year benefit. Again, the advice I typically give my primary policy area with our department is the state retirement and pension systems, and I generally caution using a strict comparison of one pension plan to another. There are a number of factors affecting plan design and benefit structures that can dictate what ultimately a benefit is. And so again, as I said at the outset, I generally look at comparing pension benefits from a broader scale to see if there is a significant outlier in terms of what is being provided. You'll see here Maryland's 20-year benefit would be ranked in the 10th spot among the plans we have here, but at an annual benefit of about $33,000. The next exhibit shows the defined benefit contribution rate. Maryland is 7%. It is ranked 11th out of the plans you see here. And I would note this 7% was increased to be consistent with the same contribution rate for the state employees and teachers systems, which is the vast majority of the system membership. The final exhibit here we have is the benefit multiplier. Maryland has a 3% multiplier with a cap of 2/3 of percentage of the active membership. And you'll see here that this varies amongst others. Now, again, some others systems, keep in mind that, the other factors may impact how the ultimate benefit is being calculated. But Maryland's on the higher end, but not out of multiplier that you would see. That is what we have for the background exhibits. I don't know if there's any questions on any of those that you want some more follow-up or more detail on. If not, we can move on to, I've got some provisions related to the legislative pension plan to bring to your attention for consideration. But I don't know if anyone wanted to discuss the exhibits.
Hope, I think the exhibits are pretty thorough. I think a lot of them are probably based on some requests that prior commission members have made, and sort of the total amount of data has perhaps grown over time. I mean, I personally feel the need to dig in a little and review it over the next week, and others on here might also. So I was thinking now's a good time to say it. If anybody had as they review it, a request for additional data, please get it. If we don't cover it today, please get it to DLS staff, to Philip and his team, probably before the next meeting. So within the next couple of days or so would be great. But I don't know, I've looked at this a couple times as best I can as we scroll through it, and there is a lot there for us. So I think any commission member, I think we'll probably. When does spending affordability meet again? Is that next week? Is that
I believe it's the 17th, and you all are scheduled to meet on the 18th. So if there's information related to that, I believe most of the materials were presented in the November briefing. So we can pull some of that for you if you're interested in seeing that. I can forward you the links to that too.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I've looked at that. And remind me, are the current state employee unions operating under a contractual agreement right now that has percentages in it. Forgive me if that's in sort of like going forward, if that is in the materials we have right now.
Jacob, do we know if there's any current
So
agreements?
that's not in the materials, but you can find that information on the Department of Budget and Management's website. I can share the link with Philip to share with the commission. But yes, that information is available on.
Okay. So they, for example, like ASME would be a big union, right? Are they like
so they're
in year
currently
2 of a
negotiating.
3-year contract? Ah, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, a few of them have just expired and are currently negotiating. They're expiring at the end of 2025. So those have not been put into place for the period that we're considering.
David, I would just add that I know that I think most of the bargaining units are in economic reopeners right now, and I think that those negotiations are by law supposed to be completed by December 31st. I think Sleola is the one bargaining unit like that actually has an expired contract and they're in active negotiation around the whole contract. I think the vast majority of the rest of state government, it's just an economic reopener right now. But I think from a timing perspective, between DBM and, like it's all supposed to be settled by December 31st.
For those who have experience on this commission, is there interplay between what we think the bargaining units may or may not settle on and what lawmakers ultimately get? I'm going to say maybe there is a little bit, or but you all tell me who have experience.
I've only been through this once. I would just say that there has generally been sensitivity towards like what actions have been taken with the statewide bargaining units. And oftentimes people are going to juxtapose the decisions of the commission against the actions collectively taken for the balance of the state workforce. So I think that's going to be whenever that information is available, that's a data point that is probably going to be of some interest to the committee. I would say, the other thing is like it's exhaustive information that's in the DLS packet. I think to whatever extent there's like new and current information on inflation and CPI and any type of index that's going to put the wage adjustments into perspective, that might be helpful as well when we get to the recommendation and deliberation stage.
Yeah. Simon, is there anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think there are a couple of things. My experience was part of it was the commission often looked at what had happened in the previous 4 years. And if there was a period of time when you could see from the charts, there were 0 increases. So a lot of times the commission's role was almost like playing catch up. Last time around, the commission decided to go with increases, and the commission. I mean, what we're doing here is we're kind of like guessing what the future is going to be like. You're establishing something for 4 years, and you don't have the ability to go back and renegotiate that or bargain it. It's like as a commission, we've got to set a rate for 4 years, and I think that's the tricky point. And the tricky point is, how you use what's happened in recent years to state employees, if that's a marker you want to use, how you want to use, current negotiations going forward. But how the commission feels about what the current budget situation is and stuff like that. But the key is, the 9 of us have the responsibility to set salaries and benefits, including benefits for retirees, because that benefit is based on what the legislators currently get, and we're doing it for the next 4 years. If the commission doesn't do it, then it's set for 4 years. It'll be another 4 years before it's looked at. So it's a delicate balance. I think I remember specifically. Some of these exhibits that were in the package were requested by Mr. Gallagher last time around. So, And I think that's the way it is, right? I mean, there's a lot of data there. There's a lot of very good data there. But that's the task that we have in front of us, is trying to figure out what the next 4 years looks like and what's appropriate. It's not easy.
So thank you. So I think I think I would like to see the DBM link. So that'd be great to share. But it sounds like, in addition to everything that's in this packet and anything that all of us request, or any of us request, we will have possibly some bargaining unit new information before our final decisions. We'll have spending affordability, inflation and income projections before our final decisions. And I think we'll have the budget submitted before our final, or that's coming after? We will not have it. Okay. All right. Okay. Drat.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Any other members at this juncture on additional data or needs to? I think we should all read this pretty thoroughly, and then maybe if you see something missing, ask staff for it, within the next 48, 36 hours, something like that.
Related
Okay, thanks.
to, Mr. Chair, some updated information for CPI adjustments. Is there like a base year that everyone thinks would be most appropriate to work off of?
Rephrase the question, please. If we're looking, say that again.
So I think there was a request for some information related to how compensation may have changed related to cost of living or consumer price index changes. Did you want to see that for what it would have looked like for the past 4 years, to see if the current salaries are lagging? I was trying to figure out if there was a base
that sounds
year.
good. Yeah, that sounds good. Like a 4-year look back. Yes.
And I know there are a lot of different indices for inflation, and I would defer to DLS in terms of like which one makes the most sense to evaluate salaries. So I think, if you had 9 economists on, they would give you 9 different answers in terms of like what the best one is. So I think DLS is considered experience, and whatever makes the most sense as it relates to salaries, I think would be great.
Yeah, we'll use whatever the typical CPI adjustment we use for other documentation that we put together, and if there's any other ones that seem reasonable, we can work those up too.
If there are no other questions, Philip, what did you want to do next?
So the next item we have for you was the legislative pension plan. There were a couple items in the resolution that is the governing document for that plan that just wanted to flag for the commission's attention. The first one was the lack in the legislative pension plan of a line of duty death benefit. I do have language that I have worked up. It's effectively mirroring the same language that was added for the judicial retirement system a couple of sessions ago that would provide for that benefit. It gets a little complicated. I mean, just quick word of advice. Generally with pension items, if it's a fairly simple concept, the legislation is going to look wildly cumbersome. So we have various iterations of it's kind of a flow chart. So if there's a surviving spouse, they get the benefit. If there's no surviving spouse but there's kids, and then with relation to paying out those survivor benefits to children for tax purposes, those typically end at age 26. However, if a child is disabled under IRS standards, they can continue receiving that. So we also have kind of a flow chart mechanism within that legislative language that will allow a disabled child to continue receiving benefits. All of this is consistent with the language that is already in existence in statute for the other plans. The reason this is before you is because first, the legislative plan does not have such a provision. It did come up in another plan recently that also lacked that provision, and the provision was required to be added. And as we stated before, and as Commissioner Powell noted, this process happens once every 4 years. So if something is not in place, it cannot be rectified until the next iteration of the commission. There was one additional item related to the plan that state retirement brought me to, and we have Ann here in case there's any need for more background. Up until the 2019 term, a member who was not vested in the plan, so vesting in the legislative plan is 8 years. If a member left the General Assembly without vesting, there were provisions that allowed the member to what we colloquially refer to as purchase airtime. And so those provisions would allow a member to purchase service to get them to that 8-year vesting, which would then make them eligible for a benefit. That was an option that was closed off to newer members. And I believe the system is looking to add a date by which any members who still have the ability to purchase that airtime but have not yet done so, establish a deadline by which they would need to do that. And I believe, and that would be end of calendar 2027.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. My camera is not working. Yes, we would like it to be 2027 because as Philip just explained this to you about what airtime is, to calculate airtime is first off, we need a lot of data that goes back to when the former member was actually enrolled in the plan. And tracking that down, the employer contribution rate in particular, is very difficult. We've gone and looked at the data for this. Who would be applied by it? Who would be affected by it? And there are 11 members out there who would be eligible under the current provisions. They have to have service before 2019. They can only purchase up to 5 years. That's an IRS provision. And so that limits us to, like I said, 11 people. The furthest back it goes is someone from 2003. And so for that person, we would have to go and track down what the employer contribution rates were for the period of time that they are seeking to purchase so that we can get the accurate cost. We think by closing it at 2027, we can still manage to, we still have that data, but I'm thinking, maybe 4, 5, 6, 7 years from now, that's even going to be harder for someone to come in and find back as far as 2003. So that's why we would like to give them 1 year or the end of 2027. I've looked at all the members who would be impacted by this. I have a relationship with all of them. I plan on starting to reach out to them to let them know about their options if you all approve this. My plan is to start reaching out to them in April after the session is over. So that would give them 1.5 years. I will also add, and since the last commission met, we've had 3 people who have purchased, and we've had a total of 5, including those 3, who reached out or 6, I'm sorry, who reached out and asked about purchasing. My experience has been over the years is that for individuals who have even over 3 years of service, it really becomes prohibitively expensive. So of these 11, if I were a betting gal here, I would say maybe 1 or 2 actually follow through and purchase because they don't have that much service to buy. The ones who have 4 years, that's going to be expensive because they're going to have to pay the member contribution and they're going to have to pay the employer share.
And just for some context, those rates on the employer share.
So the employer share, that's even hard for me to speculate on because the employer share for the employees, for the legislative plan is embedded in the employees' retirement system rate. And the employees' retirement system rate generally is combined with the employees' pension system rate when our actuary does these valuations. So I would have to go back to, I mean, probably we're talking back in 2003. I'm going to use the oldest one as a point of reference. My guess is we're probably talking 12% of, or 12 to 13% of what, maybe 14 even, of what the state was paying in the employees' retirement system at that time. So it would be 14% of whatever the salary was in 2003 for the employer rate. And then it would be 7%, maybe it was 5% back in 2003, that the member contribution rate.
And let me ask you to do this in one or two more sentences, make sure I understand. If I recall correctly, so we are setting a deadline by which people can
Yes.
buy in, is that correct? And we're saying
Yes.
that's the end of 2027. So this will be relatively new. Deadline by end of 2027 is what your calendar year of 2027 or fiscal year, whichever you decide, right?
Yes.
And then we think there are 11 eligible legislators that fall in this window, and remind me of those legislators who are no longer in the General Assembly, or they're
Yes.
okay. And you have so you have enough experience. You have a relationship, or you know all 11 who are no longer in the General Assembly.
Oh,
Who have
see,
some
you're
sort of.
aging me now. You are
I'm
aging
sorry.
me.
No, I don't mean to do that. I'm just clarifying. I age myself. That we and that. So this is saying this is your last chance to buy into this system, because after this date in 2027, there will no longer we will no longer be offering that option, in part because it's just too difficult or too cumbersome.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. And we anticipate probably minimal pushback from that, because these folks always could have bought in anyway if they wanted to, right? Like, people know
Yeah.
you can buy into the state retirement system. So this is
And-
this is an option they've always had, but they have not availed themselves of it prior to now.
And yes, that's right. And of the 11, I'm looking at the list now. I've had numerous conversations over the years with 4 of them, and then
Okay.
it doesn't go anywhere.
Right. Because it's a big chunk of change they have to
Yes,
hand over into the state retirement system. Okay.
it is, but it's a good benefit.
Oh,
It's a
no,
good
I'm
ben-
not. Oh, absolutely. I
Yeah,
wish I could get it.
it's worth it.
Tell me what my buy-in is, and I'll consider it. Thank you very much.
And I
Thanks.
know you all are busy, but I have to share this thing that I found. I found a member from the 80s who was appointed in December of the last year of the term. So she had 1 month of service credit. And the position they ran, and she did not run for the spot in January. She wasn't going to get it. She bought 7 years and 11 months of service. Yes.
That's amazing. That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. And is she of retirement age now? Is she collecting?
Yes. Yes.
All right. That's
So
she had a smart financial advisor, I think.
she did indeed.
And Mr. Chair, just for some context too, this was a benefit that was closed with the 2018 resolution, I believe. So this was something that was a unique outlier in the legislature. None of the other state plans allow for the purchase of airtime. You can purchase for employment history that you may not have credit on and things like that, but none of the other systems had an airtime provision like this, which is why the commission in 2018 closed it.
All right. So this is like a technical cleanup, right? This year, this sounds.
Yes.
Okay. Any commission members have any questions on this when we see this on our resolution? So like you said, Philip, you kind of alerted that maybe it looks like it's worded in a more complicated way, but this is
this will be the inverse. So the way it works is if I can tell you a pension issue or a retirement issue in like a couple words or sentences, the legislation, the language is going to be big. We just spent however many minutes kind of explaining airtime. We're literally putting on or before, and then a date.
Okay.
So
Very good.
it's the inverse. If it takes me a while to explain it, the actual language and text is going to be pretty simple.
All right. But we should expect to see this one on the resolution, and we might not address this one again in our second meeting or even our third meeting, do you think? Or will we have to come back to this?
This would be a decision item if the commission is interested in making this change. So definitely at the decision meeting. And then the only other item in the resolution related to retirement benefits would be retiree health. There was some legislation a few years back clarifying how service credit was calculated for determining eligibility for retiree health. It was clarified to reflect it was someone's employment service. What was happening is you would have members kind of jumping between plans or transferring between state and local systems, which was available, and that was impacting the inclusion of their service. I don't have anything particular related to that for the legislative plan. The legislative plan in item 3BA already has a provision that says participation shall be in the same manner as the participation of retired state employees. It's a somewhat nuanced issue, and so I just kind of wanted to flag it for your attention. I don't see any particular change that would be needed to align that, as the existing resolution is already clear on that. But by bringing it up, it kind of puts the commission on record if it wants to be that, that treatment with regard to participation in retiree health should be consistent with how state employees are being calculated, as far as recognizing the employment history. It should be less of an issue with the retirement system, because the retirement system is more of a closed system. You can't transfer time into it, and you can only participate in it by being a legislator. So it's really only that the employment would be consistent with the service credit being earned.
All right. Any questions on that item? Okay. Chair hearing none. Next item then for discussion, Phil?
I think that's everything we have for you right now. We have the next meeting next week, which will be a day after the Spending Affordability Committee decisions are made. Commissioner Powell? That's a question, I believe.
Yeah. Very quickly. I know a lot of the rates in the resolution are tied to the federal GSA rates and stuff like that. Do we have confirmation that the current administration is actually updating these rates and intends to keep them current? I think most of them are fairly pro forma, but I'm just kind of curious, given everything that's going on at the federal level, that these rates are actually being maintained and updated. I would hate to have something in our resolution that's referring to something that's going to be out of date. Thanks.
Are you thinking maybe adding language clarifying whatever the rate is, but not below whatever it was for a certain year, or?
No, I'm just wanted to make, my question was more generic, just wanting to make sure that anything we reference, I mean, even the CPI rate we were talking about, I mean, I just want to make sure these things are going to be actually continued to be, updated appropriately to the extent that we know. Thanks.
Oh, so you mean if we say, GSA rate, but then they change it to something else?
Or they don't update it.
Or they don't update, right.
Or they end it. I mean,
Right. Yeah, I'll go through and flag those areas in the resolution for the next meeting and get that out to you all.
Thank you. Any other questions from commissioners right now? Anybody want to smile at reclaiming 45 minutes of your Friday? I'll smile.
Very unexpected development.
So I think we're meeting, it's on our calendars, Philip, or is something coming out?
Should have gone out for all of you for Thursday, the 18th. The meeting should be blocking out 1 to 3.
Okay.
But that's just to be safe.
I still might eat my lunch from 1 to 3 also. So as you all can do the same. Thursday, 1 to 3. I will read the exhibits more closely. I hope all of you take the time to do that too. Let's get any questions or requests from additional information to DLS staff. Philip, can you give us a sense at this point what you think we might want? Can we say at this point what the agenda might cover next week?
So next week I can get you those references in the resolution that we may need to look at more closely, to Commissioner Powell's point about making sure that we're clear that it will work if any changes happen. I will get you all the information from Spending Affordability Committee. I'll email that to you from the prior November meeting. The meeting was recorded, so if you're interested in watching it, you can do that, as well as the materials. We'll be ready to update you on whatever the decisions are next week, which will be happening the afternoon prior to your meeting, so we can get a kind of a more refined sense of what the budget outlook is going to be looking like. And then sounds like that's and then if anyone has any questions for additional information or questions about the exhibits that they want us to dig more into, we can do that, and then we'll have the CPI adjusted information for you then as well. And then it sounds like if you're all interested in seeing how the collective bargaining items are addressed with the state at the final meeting, hopefully we would have information there to update you on, and then anything else that you decide at the next meeting that you'd like for the decisions.
So, like, looking big picture, it feels like, and I folks can weigh in on this, that this year we are not necessarily, unless someone wants to tell me differently, like Mr. King or someone, it doesn't feel like we're in a catch-up situation necessarily. I know the last commission made some decision. The 4422 was that was coming off a prior period of 0. Is that correct? If I get my history right.
Yeah, I think so.
So, I mean, from a broad perspective, are we thinking of maintenance possibly? Like, James, how do you think, someone who's been in the legislature, broadly, looking from the past 4-year period to the next 4-year period, if you don't mind me calling you out?
No, not at all. I think there's so many factors to look at. Obviously, the economic times that we're in right now, inflation is probably higher than it's ever been in my lifetime anyways. So, I'm always one that says, you want good people, pay them, right? And so I side on the more aggressive that we are. I think the better talent you get, and I think the better outcome and results you get. But when I look at the other states, I spent some time on that last night. I was a little surprised that, we're on the higher end, quite frankly, for whatever. I'm still trying to determine whether we're a part-time,
right.
part-time,
Right.
we're not full-time, but I know the hours that goes into the job.
Right.
And if you
Do you
break
think members of the General Assembly, pardon me for interrupting, like think of themselves as being on the higher end, above average nationally, or no? Okay.
No, and I think look, if you break the hours down that go into the job, it's well below minimum wage, right? And that's just, people do that. They understand it's public service. You're not doing it for the money. But I do think you attract better talent with higher wages in general. And I think, it is a much more, even from when my time in the legislature, almost 20 years ago to today, I think the hours have increased because still communicating with a lot of the current members. It really is a full-time job. It's a year-round job. Your constituents are calling you every day, regardless of whether you're in session or not. You don't turn off a switch just because the legislative session comes to an end. Quite frankly, sometimes it's easier to be in session because you're all in one place. It's all in front of you. You lock down for 90 days than being all over the district and community association meetings and things like that. So I just think we should look at it from a perspective of the number of hours and the commitment that goes into the job and it's hefty. So, just my 2 cents, but interesting what other people say. But I was a little taken back that how low some of the salaries are nationally, nationwide. We're not in a bad place when you look at it from that perspective. I think Maryland ranks decently, but from an actual job, what the job entails, I think it's low.
Yeah, thanks. I think these are, I would hate to start into all the great discussions like this after I had already said, let's reclaim 45 minutes. So I think some of this is going to be our really good discussion to have next Thursday. But I don't want to cut anybody off if they want to respond to what Mr. King said. Zena, you came off mute maybe.
Yeah, I just totally agree with him that, these are part-time salaries, but full-time commitments. And, I looked at the numbers too, different from different states and was surprised as well. But, the cost of living here is extremely high too. So we have to look at, in my opinion, all of that when we're considering this because, I've talked to members over the years and it's tough when you come to serve and you desire to serve. But on the flip side of that, how do you continue to do all the things that you do and still survive at the same time? And so some may say, well, when you go into this, you should know that. But times have changed. And I think that we have to factor that in.
Sure.
For background, last time around, the commission had asked if we could get some info, maybe like we conducted a survey to the members about kind of time commitments in and out of session, and it was a very strong response. We can see if we can do that again for you all again, but from last time, the responses for hours per week during session, 96% indicated 40 plus hours a week. And then during interim activities, about a third, 40 plus hours per week, about another third, it's like, about around 30% each on these responses for 30 to 39 hours a week, and then another third for 20 to 29 hours a week. So even during the interim, the time commitments that were being reported were, pretty robust.
Right. I know one of the exhibits was it number of hours or number? Do we have that in our exhibit packet now? Or are you referring to
No, we don't have
something
updated.
else?
We did that last time around. It was, I think, one of the commissioners that asked if we could reach out, and so we did that. So if you're interested, we can do that again and see if we can gather updated info. But or I can share that exhibit that we had from last time.
I'm always hesitant to ask people to do additional work that I wouldn't do myself. So why don't we share it for now? And then I guess why don't we share it? And then if commission members feel we need to do the work to update it, we can make that decision.
Just for everyone's record, it was exhibit 50 from the 2022 report. And I can get that link out to you all.
Okay. Anything else now on this day? All right. Robert's Rules of Orders. I'll accept a motion to adjourn. I hear it, and it's seconded, and then we will see y'all next week. And if anybody reads and has a question, please use Philip as the point person. You can CC me or not as you desire, but I look forward to a further discussion next week.
Thanks. Take care.
Thank
All
you.
right. All right.
You have a great day.
Yeah.